Hi, good evening. Welcome everyone to another session. Trust we had a good week. Can somebody confirm that they can hear me? Anybody? Hi,
Yes, we
ladies.
can.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvia. All right, thank you. Once again, you're welcome to another session. This weekend is going to be our last weekend for this Linux review. I hope you guys have had the opportunity to go through again those four videos that was shared initially with you. Usually, we're supposed to come to this session and then talk about the things that you probably worked on. Maybe there are things that you don't understand and then you want me to shed more light on. So I will give a few minutes. Again, if anybody has anything they would want me to actually um, go over, from those four videos, it's going to be a good time for us to review that. If not, we're just going to go through a few other things. The goal again is to get comfortable with the terminal as much as possible for those of us that are coming from the GUI, place. We have been using GUI most of our, you know, um, experiences or use case with PC. Now we are moving away. We're trying to shift from that GUI focus now to the terminal, which is going to be what you will be interfacing with if you will be, doing DevOps or whether you're going to uh, be cloud practitioner. So having an understanding of how to work on both the terminal from the terminal standpoint and from the GUI is going to be an advantage, whatever role you eventually find yourself. So it's again, get as familiar with GUI as much as possible. Even some of us have been using the terminal for quite some time. Uh, as my first introduction to the terminal was Windows DOS. It was an experience that um, I don't think I want to relive, but looking back, it actually kind of shaped my understanding of the computing system. Yeah, it would make you understand all the intricacies, taking you away from um, the click. Yeah. So it's important that we get as comfortable as much as possible with this. You can't be too comfortable with it. Still gives some of us PTSD each time we see that blank screen, especially when you have to start debugging, going through, shifting to um, tons of log files, trying to locate a needle, in a haystack. Yeah, that's thing can be quite traumatic, but um, it's would still need to be part of, second nature because most of the things you will be doing would be from the terminal. Um, yeah, so again, welcome guys. Um, if there are no questions, if there's any question, fine. If not, we'll just jump into. I think we're just going to continue from where we stopped last weekend, and uh, again, this final weekend, we'll try as much as possible. I'll try to introduce us to the necessary things that we'll be needing moving forward. All right. I see some of us are muted. So if you
Okay.
want to, hi,
Okay.
go
Hi.
ahead.
So hi, Maria. So I was trying to. There's this part where we created the last class.
Okay.
There was this part where we created. After I'm trying to get the picture of what the question I was going to ask. So there was this class where we tried to create like swap the user, like change their name from maybe from Moyo to Chidima. There was like this instance you were trying to give.
Yeah.
So I just want to confirm. So if I'm trying to swap a name, like to add it, like to add as admin, if I'm trying to swap a name, do I necessarily need to, must the person be like in the folder, or I can just put a foreign name to swap a name?
Swapping is like editing, not swapping. So I didn't think editing is the right word to use. You're just the
Okay,
user
editing. Yeah.
exists. So you're just changing that name to something else. So and you can do this from wherever. The only prerequisite is the chmod command. You have to run it as sudo. So saying you have to be, even if you want to, okay, if you mean, okay, changing the folder name now, if you're going to rename a folder, if you don't have to be from the folder, as long as you define the absolute parts of the folder that you want to rename, I think that would work.
So the person doesn't necessarily need to be in that folder. I can just
Yes, you don't have to. So there is the
because
concept of relative parts and absolute parts. Relative parts for you to, so if you are inside of a folder and you want to rename a particular file inside of that folder, so you can just simply, point to that file, it's fine because the command to say maybe is move now, MV to, rename a folder, move if a folder, and then you give the name of the folder. That's fine because you are there, you can run that from there. I think this would make sense if we actually do it from the terminal instead of talking about it. Yeah. Let me
yeah.
bring up okay. So I am in this folder now, in the Ubuntu folder. So say I want to change this test file.txt. I want to edit the name, swap the name. Let me use your English now, to say some other thing. So I can easily do move does multiple things. You can use it to move, just like the name says, a file from one directory to another directory, or you can also use it to rename a directory. It works that way. So I can do move test file.txt. This is perfectly fine. And that's because I am in this part. I'm inside of the directory where the file that I want to manipulate, work on, change, even open is. And then use it, say, let's just change it to sylvia.csv. Yeah, this will work fine. Yeah, and if I do an LL, but I can also do this, say I am in another directory. Let me go into my root directory. So I'm in the root directory now, and I do not have the file in here. So these, as you're referencing this file from the same directory that you're in, is relative to the directory. So this is basically the relative part of this. You could have started it with just a dot and then, but that's the relative part. Let me not confuse us more with it. So from here also, I can do the same. I can run a move um, Sylvia. Okay, now I can't just say Sylvia because Sylvia, I can't even locate Sylvia. So, but the absolute part of a file is the full part of that file starting from the root directory. And what's our root directory? Is the /, and then we have to, again, point it to exactly that's home, Ubuntu, if you see when I ran a print working directory earlier, was it? Yes. So this is the path to where that file is. So I can just use that in here and then use Sylvia the CSV, and I can go ahead and put it back to test file.txt. This will work fine. And this is the absolute part of this file. Okay, yes, because I am running from this particular directory is saying I can't, so I would need to use sudo. And if I go back to my home directory, I can see that. Um, Okay. Um, so I moved this from where it was to the directory that I was in. Oh, interesting. It should be in here. Like I said, move is um, works in two different ways. You can use it to rename and also to, um, you know, edit or rename a file. So because I was currently in this directory in the root directory when I ran this, I should have specified. So this part of the command here should also take an absolute path to where I wanted to, rename the file in or move that file in. So it moved it from this part and then put it inside of the current parts directory where we're from. I hope this makes sense.
Not really. I still don't get it.
Okay. Mm. But you understand
I
that,
think I
yes, somebody said she understands. Was that Sylvia?
Oh yeah, I think I
Oh,
understand
okay.
what.
Okay,
No,
G.
it's okay. That's okay. I understand what you're trying to say because I watched it in the second video,
Oh,
the
okay.
second or the third video.
Mm.
Yes. So you're trying to take the path. You have to take the complete path of the directory before you move. That's what you're trying to do, right?
Yes. Yes. Mm. And so, no, what Sylvia was asking is if you want to even rename a directory, must you be inside of, say, the parent directory where the subdirectory is, or if it's a file now, must you be in the directory where that file is? And so I'm saying you don't have to be in that. You can do it. If you are there, you can change the name of the file. But if you're not, you can also point it to um, the absolute part of that directory. So if I'm going to correct this now, I'm just saying that this is right here now. It's just going to be vice versa. Oops. Um, 2, and just going to leave it as test right now. I'm just going to move it back to where it was coming from. Test file, text, and I'm moving it back to. So earlier I put the absolute part in here because the file did not exist in here. But now that the file exists inside of this current directory, I can just reference it and then point it to where I want to move it to. And again, I can use this also to both move and also to rename the file. So I can do a rename file and this would perfectly work. I come back here, I see now my rename file txt. Sylvia, are you still confused or should I run another example?
Okay, just run one more, and I'm just trying to catch up. It's making much sense. So from this thing you did,
Mhm.
so let me look at the command.
Please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute yourself. Okay, Sylvia, how you get your command? I think Are there any other questions? Again, I believe if you guys go through, just like Ogechi mentioned now, if you go through those 4 videos, all of these fundamental things have been kind of touched on. But if you're still having any issues, I'm more than available to walk us through it. Are there any other questions, from your practice that you want us to touch on?
Question,
All right,
but
please go
it's not
ahead.
from practice. Just something I've been thinking of based on what I've been seeing on job postings. You really need to know Python, and I know we need to know Bash scripting, but you really need to know Python to be a DevOps engineer.
All right, so
And
okay, go ahead.
what other programming language do you need to know to become a DevOps engineer?
Uh, so if you let me be very direct with this, yeah. So if you're going to be, uh, would I say, uh, a sought after DevOps engineer, you would need to not fully know a programming language, but understand um, software engineering. So let's leave it at that here. So I believe all programming languages, they all were cut from the same, coin, or they all have the same underlying principle. Yeah. So if you uh, understand, say, Python, for you to pick up another language is just for you to understand, learn the syntax of that language. These days, Python has become like an essential tool, not just for DevOps now, for literally everything. Same thing you can do with Bash scripts. Python is taking over, and it does it so gracefully, something you're going to achieve with Bash scripts in maybe 200 lines of code. Python can do it for you in 10, 15 lines of code. So um, things are moving, changing very, very fast. That's why if you learn Python, you're going to be more, would I say, more useful. You're going to be more productive. You would be able to automate things even much better. Um, and some of the things, no, let me say most, some of the tools you will be working with would probably work better, you know, if you automate using, again, Python. Some services in AWS give you the option to um, work with them using a programming language. Python is championing that. You can use Node.js, you can use PHP, whatever. Yeah, but understanding again how um, programming languages work would be an advantage. You don't have to, you're not a programmer. You don't have to start writing APIs, writing functions, and all of those things. You have generative AI in this age and time. It's a wonderful time to actually, be doing this, because most of the things that you would need to do, the functions you need to write, say you're working with Lambda, uh, you can, if you understand, what you need to do, all you need to do is prompt, your generative AI. Okay, yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. It will generate the code for you. It might not be perfect. That's why your understanding of this concept of the syntax of whatever language, say Python now you're using, will come in. You know, foundational knowledge, how to declare variable, how to declare function, how to call that function, how to use, your variables inside of your function. There are foundational things that once you grab, you're good to go. So some people, I've told people that once they hear that, I have to learn a programming language, they get discouraged. But what I keep telling them is the programming language that you need to learn is very basic. It's like, saying you want to write a journal now because you want to, um, you know, um, be, um, you're doing your PhD and you need to have, 5 journals, published. That's to the extreme. Uh, yeah, when it comes to, doing DevOps, you don't need to, go that deep, like publishing or having API, writing APIs, just the fundamentals, just know how to write an introduction to whatever projects, and then you're good. Mm. It's, again, necessary if you're going to stay relevant. Yeah. Does that make sense? Ogechi? We
Thank you
will
very
learn
much.
we will learn Bash scripting tomorrow, very, very briefly. And the concept that we'll touch in Bash scripting cuts across every other language. And if you understand those things, by the time you need to learn another language, say, on Python now, you'd see that, oh, okay, these things are very, very similar. Just like when you learning cloud computing also. Once you understand how AWS works, you can use any other cloud provider. If it's Azure you decide you want to learn, if you have that mindset that okay, yes, all of these cloud providers they run on the same principle. It's just their nomenclature, what they call their different services now that differ. Same thing with programming languages. It's just the syntax that differ. The semantics, they are all the same. Okay, you did computer science now. In There's a course now that I think is always necessary. What's the title of this course now? Compiler construction. Where you have to learn how languages are kind of formulated. If you understand that, you see that it cuts across. That's where every programming language actually stems from. You know, they all take in input and then they manipulate those inputs and then give you an output. That's everything that happens, when it comes to programming. But again, tomorrow I'll try as much as possible those key concepts when it comes to understanding how programming works. Would still learn Bash scripts because it would use it more uh, when we're doing our cloud, during our cloud module, yeah. So we'll learn the basic
Yeah.
things again and see how all of these commands that we are running regularly, how they all come together. That's why we're learning
Yeah,
Bash actually.
you're mentioning I studied computer science. I finished like 15 years ago, and half of what I got
I finished
about
years ago too, and I still remember most of the things. That's because okay.
that's like your life. That's what you've been doing. So definitely, it's going to be pressure. Okay? So please, let us
Yes, yes,
as
yes,
long
yes.
just
Mm.
talk to us like you don't even understand it, including myself. That would be very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Makes sense. All right. Hmm. Okay. Again, I'll try as much as possible to break this down. Yeah. And that's why if I'm maybe going too philosophical, please call me back. Yeah. At times I can get carried away. I just think I'm talking to a colleague. Yeah. Just call me back and I'll try as much as possible to uh, not run too fast. All right. If there are not any other questions, maybe we'll jump into today's session. Um, Chibike, have you been able to set up your workstation now? Have you gotten your second screen?
Oh yeah, I did. My projector came in yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still setting it up. But I did go through the videos.
Okay.
hmm
And
The video
practice.
from last week,
Yes.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, in the playlist. Did you go through
Yeah,
the playlist?
I did, but it wasn't there for me.
So I uploaded them late though. So maybe when did you check? Did you check recently?
I think this was like 2, 3 days ago, and I reached out and um they said the lady told me she was gonna check and get back to me. I'm still waiting on her.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I'll check once again. But is there any other person that didn't get the video? Because I noticed quite a number of people had seen the video. So, uh, I'll confirm if your email is part of. I'm sure it was there though. But I'll confirm.
I didn't get the video too.
Ooh. I
The
did
video
not.
is the video is actually there though. I don't know what.
So
If you
there's
use the
the
if you use the
playlist.
link, if you use the link he sent on WhatsApp, you'll see it there.
Yes. Use
I
the
don't know of the
playlist.
Gmail. Yeah, the
So if you're
link he sent
waiting
on
for it to
WhatsApp.
come to your email, at times during the upload, if I forget to click on send as email, you might not get it in your email. But on the playlist, I'm sure you will get it. In fact, if I let me open up YouTube and see. If mm, as much. Yeah. Yeah. So this was the last session. Is this your email, Chibike? CCP935.
Yes.
Okay, so you
Okay.
should have it. Should have it. Chidima, what's your email? I don't think I have your email though.
Not right there.
Okay.
Okay, you catch me, ma.
So you should have it. Make sure you're
Okay.
logged in as to YouTube as the I'm just going to take this where is this how do I get this? I know I shared the link to this with you guys. I'll share it again. I can't even wrap my head around where to get it now. Where is let's share a good link. Okay, yeah. I'm just pasting in the chats. So you can pick it from there. I'm sure all the videos are all there.
Thank you.
Alrighty. You're welcome. Let's write some more commands. I don't know if you guys noticed. Again, I don't think I'm an island. I make mistakes. Earlier when I was trying to explain how to move things, or rename things using the move command, as basic as that is, I still, moved a file that I wanted to rename, because I didn't, specify the um, absolute part to, the part of the command where, I'm supposed to. Yeah. Things like this always humbles me. Like, okay, yes, nigga, you don't know everything. Yeah. So and that's why you have to always you have to always um, practice these things and get your hands dirty. That's where you would kind of um, sharpen your skills. Even if you do make mistakes, you don't panic because you know it can be reversed. Yeah, I will keep preaching, having you guys, you must do. If you don't, because you will run into errors. Even if you take note of everything that I do, you're still going to hit something, that would not work even when you follow everything that I did. That's way, if you're able to recover yourself, your experience grows. But if not, you ask questions, um, we walk through it. You also gain some experience in that way also. And I will say, before you come to me with your problem, please try to walk around, see if there's something you can do about it, and then if not, you can always come and then we'll walk through it together. Yeah. All right, so last weekend we were going over um, some basic commands, navigation, and what uh, um viewing content of files and all of those basic things, which is going to be a chunk of the things that you will be doing. Yeah, and so we're going to continue, in that part, and wherever it is that we're going to stop today, it's going to be fine. Uh, so in Linux, we have, because we're working in the terminal, there is a command that helps us see a list of all the commands that we have written over time. It's basically just history. The command is history, and so we can see all of the commands that we've written since the inception of this machine. Yeah, yeah, and this would grow obviously over time. If you have a machine that you've been using for 2 years, obviously this is very, very fresh. We've not used it for up to a month and we already have over 245 lines of commands, so it'll grow over time. We have commands that you can use um, to kind of filter or sift what exactly you're looking for. Say you ran a command 2 months ago, and then you're not really sure of that command. Maybe it was something you're trying to fix something, and while you were going through Stack Overflow or Google, and then it just gave you a solution and it worked, and then you're experiencing that issue again. You can basically grab for something, yeah, search for it. So history is a command that gives you an output. Um, and the beauty of writing commands is that you can chain commands together. You can take the output of a command and pass it as an input to another command, in a go. So just like I'm running history now, history we know would print out everything that we have in here. So we can use the pipe command. Pipe basically saying the output of this command, I want you to pass it as an input to another command. So there are commands also that take inputs, or that you use to kind of, that takes input and then you use it to search or scan through a file. So one of those such command is grep. Yeah, so grep would take an input, a stream of stream of text, if you have it, and you can use it to search through those texts. Yeah, say I want to search for I don't know, exec, for instance. I know exec is I think one of the first commands that we ran. So what this command is saying is basically saying this history again will print out a bunch of things, but don't print it out to the screen. Now I know you print out to the screen, but instead of printing out to me, pass it into another command using this pipe, pass it to the grep command, and grep take whatever it is, that was passed to you and search for this text or this string inside of it. And if we run this, I see here that this was the command that was run, exec bash, for whatever line number that is, and also even the current one that we ran also is printing that out to us. Yeah. So say you have this, it's fine, it's all well and good. So, but do you have to always copy all of this, each time and then paste it or however? So you can reference a particular, history command now using the exclamation and then the line number. See, I want to rerun cat. Let's see where is release. I think that was where we stopped last time. I can just take the line number, that's 223, with the exclamation mark prefixing that line number, and this would, basically just run. It would basically print out the command that you're referencing kind of in there, and then it will print it out for you. So again, this will come in very, very handy when you are maybe looking for something. You'll be using grep a lot. Yes, especially when you're searching for things, from the file system, and then you don't know where exactly it is. We have a number of other commands that you can use in looking for things. I think you have find, you can use find, and I think locate also. Again, these commands, there are so much that you don't have to, know them offhand. By the time you need them, you would use them. All right. We mentioned last week again that this OS release file exists on, I think, all of the distributions, and it's a special file that gives you information about the distribution of Linux that you have currently installed. And this is an Ubuntu. It gives you the pretty name of the Ubuntu. If you're Ubuntu 20.0, it'll, again, get information about this. So there's quite a lot that you can actually do. Well, if you need to get information, basically. We have commands that we can use in viewing content of file. We talked about using cat. cards just print out to the screen content of your file. But we have also more or less command. Is basically do the same thing, just to view the content of the file more or less. So I can do more um, of, let's see, OS release. Because this file is not very large, it's not doing is just printing everything. If you had a very, very large file now, you can use more to kind of sift through that file instead of, once the screen is covered with all that you have, instead of you having to scroll to the top and then start, you can use more to do that, and also less does basically the same thing also. More and less, you know, uh, again, is basically used to view large files. Um, benefits may not be, immediately apparent now. It's these are short file, um, but you know we can use it to view much larger files. Anyways, yes, and then again, the less basically does the same thing. And then if the file is large, you use your your arrow key to move up and down again, just to um, go through the content of the file. I think the less actually gives us more features than the more commands. So you guys can actually practice this. I think last week I told us about aliases, and I told you guys to um, do. I remember now. So when I tell you guys to do something, I will eventually remember. So we created an alias last week. Yeah, and I told you it was a temporary alias we created that each time we stop or restart, reboot our machine, that alias would go off using the alias command. I think alias and then equals alias, and then we did this. The my memory serves me, yes. Sudo wait, I think we did this. Yes, so this actually exists here now. I told you guys that if we reboot this machine now, this would again be thrown away. And I told us to look for um, how to make this permanent. So when you when you reboot, you still have your aliases. Was there anybody that actually, remember to do research on that? Nope. I'll take your silence as a no. It's still, again, still out there for you guys to play around with. I think I mentioned, I gave you guys a hint of how I think I said you would just edit a file and add this to file. Yeah. Again, moving on. I am When we get to cloud computing, if you are given a task to do, I would expect that you please just um, try to research on it. It would help you start preparing to reading or getting solutions to whatever challenge that you will eventually be facing. Yeah. Uh, uh, so moving on. I told us about the grep command, that we can use it to actually use it to do quite a number of things. Yes. Uh, so just like you can do cards, uh, whatever. Let's see, press release. You can actually also use, again, this is just dumping the content of um, this particular file to the screen. Mm, This, let me look for a much larger file. So this would make more sense. Do I have, okay, I think I should have an SSH config. All right, so this actually has more files. So you can use more or less to actually sift to do this. So this particular file, use more or less to do this. Um, but may have moved on from that. Uh, because again, our monitor cannot display everything all at once. And if we say we are interested in a particular line, word, we would need to be able to narrow down the file to what we actually care about, and again, we talked about using grep command to print only the lines of that pertain to, say, a particular or a specific, um, this is a configuration file now that we just opened. We talked about the file system and then the etc. I talked about the etc directory, which all says configuration files for different applications, system applications that has been installed on your behalf, and also applications that we will be installing. Yeah, so um, this is SSH configuration file. SSH is a protocol that allows you to connect remotely to your machine. Let's say we're using cat now. I just printed all of this today, and I am looking for a particular thing. Having to scroll through this can actually be frustrating. So we could use grep to actually do this. Say I'm looking for the word port. Yeah. Uh, So I'm not inside of the home directory, the etc directory, but because I'm using the absolute paths, I can actually do cat or list the content of that file, even from the directory that I am in. Uh, so can do ssh config. So this works. Um, there are several ways that you can actually actually do this. I can use grep just like this, or I could also do. Okay, let me just edit. So you can use the up arrow key also to go through list of commands that you run recently. It's going to take a while if you want to scroll through, 200 lines of commands. So that's why the history comes in. So if I do this, just like we did with history, I can also do a grep for port also. Just like I said earlier, grep basically takes, so this command basically, your pipe just passes the input or the output of a command to, another command, input of another command. Yeah. Uh, I hope this makes sense as we're moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to point us to,
Yes, it does.
okay, cool. To log files. Log files, they're bits, I'll just point us to the default directory, uh, and then we'll just view some of these files, because log files are quite viewing log files are things that you would do regularly. So know that they exist. The the var/log directory. Uh, System logs. This is one of the files that you will be uh, dealing with quite often. So let me see. Let's just do ls log system log. Raw partner. See if we can do this. Okay, yes. So we going through log files can, especially syslog files, well, you definitely would be going through it. Yeah. And so your grep command is going to be the commands that you would use to actually, look for things in this kind of massive large files. Yeah. Like I said earlier, looking for needle in a haystack. Yeah, it's going to give you PTSD. Yeah, so uh, less again would help you go page by page over such file. But again, our grep file will come in very, very handy. Say you are looking for every occurrence of, say, network inside of this file. This is, yes, it's going to kind of at least help you filter, helps shows lines that are relevant. Say you're looking for some network error, occurred, or trying to see what happened, during, say, name resolution, on your system. You can again use the grep um, to help you, go through this. I think it's also a good time to introduce the head and tail command. This head and tail command would show the first 10 and the last 10 lines of a file. Um, you know, so for our log file here now, let me clear this. So earlier I ran less, and this was just showing us all of, say, I want to just see the first 10 lines of this command. I can run a head var log. So this would only show the first 10 lines. If you don't see what you're looking for there, say maybe you want to see the bottom half of this, you can use less, sorry, till. And you also have the option to adjust the number of lines that these two commands actually shows you with the N option, the flag N. So say I know the error should be at the bottom tail of, my log file. So, but the last 10 lines is not giving me. So I can use the end line, say, okay, give me the last 100 lines of this file. This would, again, do the same thing for you. Um, last 100 lines for you. And then that way you can scroll and see where whatever it is broken, broke. Uh, but mm, and there are times where, say, things are happening in real time, and then you don't just it's coming in. The log files are being is receiving constant streams of inputs. You can use say your tail command now, and the logs coming in gets appended, to the bottom of that file. And then you want to see as they're coming in real time. You can actually just a flag that you can actually use to say, um, watch as things are happening in real time on your system logs, in almost real time. Yeah. So right now, just running that command, I can see that I'm not, in the shells in the prompt of this. If something happens on this particular server now, and it's been logged to syslog, it will come in real time. I can see, and then I have the time stamp also. I can see exactly what happened, and then from there I can actually, um, you know, debug. It's just a way you monitor the log files as somebody is trying to attempt to um, reproduce a problem. Developers would tell you things are not working, and then see. I don't know if you guys noticed. This is probably is a cron job that ran just like immediately now. Cron, they are kind of repetitive commands now that run as daemons. You can set up clones that would run at intervals every second, every minute, on and on like that. We have a file that you would need to edit to actually, achieve that. There are daemons that run, that uh, and make the system tick. And you can also set up cron jobs, to do that. Okay, I think you have the cron still following this. So exit out of this, you do a control C, and that will take you out of the um, following option. You break out of that follow mode basically, and then you return to your command mode. I know these are kind of fundamental commands and concept that, again, it would require that you use them, practice some hypothetical scenarios where you would need them. Um, I think this would be enough for now for in terms of basic commands. Um, there are more commands there are more commands in Linux that would ever be able to memorize, and I will keep saying that um, most of us most times we just memorize our favorite commands and then maybe a variation of those commands, and then we'll develop our own menu of these commands as you learn and as you expand your knowledge. As you do these things, you would build your own kind of vocabulary, when it comes to the command line. Uh, so, but those foundational ones that, wake you from sleep, you are able to those essential commands, our grep, our cat, change directory, listing of directories, that we have explored for a while. They are very, very essential, in the continuation of this learning, because we'll be using them over and over again. Yeah, so all right. Would again we'll continue exploring fundamental things. We'll look at file management now. Let's move on. Again, guys, feel free to stop me if I'm moving too fast. If you have questions, please ask. Yeah, don't wait until I say, are there questions? All right, so do I have permission to move on, or are there questions? Okay. All right. Think we'll just quickly look at copying files and whatnot, just to see if we can shed more light on the question that Sylvia asked earlier. I think we talked about using the touch command to create empty files last week, and also use it to edit the timestamp of file. And then we talked about removing the rm command. Did anybody try to run that command that I talked about last week? If people are not inquisitive, I was expecting that somebody would say, "Mo, you ran that command and I could not log into the machine again afterwards." Mm. It's better you guys try out these things now and know what will happen if you try it, than when you get, don't go and try some things on organizational servers. Yeah, if you have system admins, they would catch this, and then you would have to write incident report. So now, feel free to explore. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that if we do it, we're going to do this to child, so we're still learning. That's why I don't want it to be 10 minutes.
So now, like I said, now if you do it and things break, you can easily terminate that machine and then recreate another one.
Oh, okay. I'll try.
So take risk now, break everything you can break now, and then know that this is what I ran that broke this machine, and I will not do it again. Yes. All right. We looked at moving files, but I don't think we looked at copying files. So let's just see how to copy. Copying a file is it's fairly easy. Uh, I'm sure for those that have seen those videos, you would see this command. So let me just um, touch file one. We can use the touch to create multiple files. Again, you don't have to create them one after the other. I can go on and on like this. You can even actually do a range. Can tell it to create from file 1 to file 200 if you have to. Uh, so so let's do copy file 2. So file 2. So I'm copying this file 2, and I want to rename it. So let's see if this would make more sense. So let's echo 2 into files 2. Do you guys know what this command is doing?
No.
Yeah, the echo is used to write something into a file.
Yes, thank you very much. So I am basically just using the echo. The echo command actually just prints out whatever it is you pass to it, to the screen. But right now I'm telling it, don't print it out to the screen, append it to this file. Just take this content now and then put it inside of this file. So if I cut files 2, I should see files 2 inside of it. People make the mistake sometimes to do this. Let me just print out my name instead. This would also do the same thing, files 2. But if you use the single greater than symbol, this would kind of take away everything you have inside of this file and just put what you have in here into it. So if I cut this now, instead of it to append to it, it would replace everything you have in there. But if I want to append to it, I would use the double greater. Uh, so this will just put it onto the next line. So you want to be careful when you are using the echo to actually do this. Okay, so say I want to copy files 2 now, and I want to, just copy it. It's very, very basic. Do copy files 2. So I noticed that I actually wanted to call it file 2, not files 2 now. And there are content in it that I can't. So I would just do, okay, files 2. I can use move also to do this, but I could also just do file 2. Yep. And if I do an LL, I have both files 2 and then file 2, and I can go ahead and you can see that the content in it is basically the same thing. So yeah. So most times you use this in, let me see a situation. So when you are copying a file, to say a backup medium, say as an external drive or say some network share, use your copy command to actually do that. Or say you are creating a copy of a file before making change to it. So when you work with configuration files for the first time, it's always advisable that you kind of create a backup, a copy of that configuration file, before editing it, so that if you break something, you can easily recover yourself. I remember learning Apache. Yeah, it was HTTPD. Back then. I did some configuration, so I didn't know that I had to kind of create a copy of the configuration file, before, editing that the configuration file for that web server. Apache is a web server, by the way. I'm used to serve content, the web. Uh, so after editing the file, it broke the web server, and web server configuration files, they are a headache. Mm. Recently, I was also teaching somebody how to, it was understudying me, wanted to do DevOps. And so he was configuring, I told him to configure Nginx actually. And after 3 days, he came back to me and said, I don't think I can do this. He had tried so many things, even in this age and time. I don't know. You guys will need to learn how to use every tool that is available now. AI is making learning very, very interesting. Yeah. So back in the day, we didn't have, um, a way of kind of getting what you need, you know, when you are working on a file, on a configuration file, is all you have. You don't, even if you say you want to use Stack Overflow or Google, they are more centered for developers, and you very rarely have, help when it comes to configuring. So even if you have help, it's things that would even break them more. Yeah. So you always want to take the, a backup of any important file, before editing it. You create a copy of it as a backup, just in case, you go and touch something, or working with the terminal can be very, especially with editing files, whatever uh, editor you're using, whether Nano or VI, you probably, because it is not the GUI where you can just scroll through with your mouse or trackpad and then, move to a certain line. You have to use your arrow keys to move, to different lines, and say you're a guru, and then you can easily move to line numbers. The chances of, um, you know, hitting a key while you are on the line that you're not supposed to, and then maybe not noticing and moving. Yeah, it's very, very high. Yeah, so you always want to create a copy. So even if things break, you can easily, if you can't locate exactly where things break, most times, some applications will tell you, especially configuration files, okay, this is the line that thinks something is not working. It probably not be, as would say, it would not be that exact line, but if you look around, the error now, you again have to go through some logs to be able to figure this out. Yeah. Yeah. So copying files would help you keeping them before making change. And then if you need to, again, this would duplicate a log file for the point in time analysis. So you know that some error happened between a time frame, but going through log files can, if you have to go through the entire log file, it's going to be wonderful. So you can basically just create a chunk of that log file. Again, there are some commands you run that'll help you duplicate that log file. Yeah. Say, let me try to just buttress on that last point. So I can do a copy of my system log now before more things come into it. I want to just have that saved somewhere. So I can do this log, and then I want to put it inside of my home directory, Ubuntu, and then just have a copy of that in here, syslog. This way, I'm able to, I have that saved in here. It's owned by root. Then you can change the ownership, and then use this to scan through or walk through or whatever it is without affecting or fear of getting things coming to add to what you have. Very, very straightforward command here. Takes a Sorry, can you guys hear me? Like my network is.
Yes, we can hear you. It went
Okay.
mute for a
Oh,
few
okay. I
seconds.
think I lost my network. I went off for a minute. All right. So I was trying to explain the log files and the inputs. So you just give it a path to the file we want to copy. So now I'm passing in the absolute paths. If the file were in the directory where I'm in, just like we did in here, I didn't have to pass the full paths to where I am. I just referenced this. Pass it a path to where the file is, whether absolute or relative, and then type the path to the destination where we want to have this, and then we can a desired file name. So I didn't have to actually use syslog for this. I could have called it Moyo or whatever. Yeah, so copy basically also use it to do, okay, I shouldn't have used sudo to do this. All right, so moving on, thinking more with copy. So copying files is different. Copying directory is another thing entirely. When it comes to copying directories, the copy command by itself won't do the trick. So if I do sudo, so this is also a valid command. So let's do. I'm using sudo because I'm trying to copy from directories that are not owned by this particular user. Yeah. So say sudo log. I think I should have apps directory there. Okay, yes. So instead of having to type all of the full paths to this directory, I could just do a dot here, and this would again just copy all of the directory. So apt is a directory. Um, Basically a directory that contains keeps track of transactions performed by this particular apt command, apt command. And we apt is a package manager. We'll talk about installing and installing packages. So again, the kernel would tell you what to do. That's the beauty of this. Saying the error literally tells us that tells us what to do. That's directories are omitted by default omitting directory. So we need to include the R flag option. This stands for recursive. It's an option we would see as a whole lot, a handful of Linux commands actually have that recursive flag. It basically tells the command line to not only um, copy the object at that part, that was specified, but also to do so recursively, including child objects as well. So this would be much more. So all I need to do is add the R to this. So with this, I can see that we have a local copy of this directory with everything that we have inside of it. So if I go in there, I see that we have a bunch of things inside of it. If there were other directories also, it would have copied all of those directories. We have talked about using the move command. Everything, the move is basically used for moving a file or a directory from one place to the other. Is almost doing the same as the copy command. The difference is that instead of copying a file, we are moving it all together. We copy, you're creating a copy, but we move, yeah, taking it away all together. I think that's self-explanatory. All right. I think I mentioned earlier that it's from using move to move files or directory. You use it also to rename a file. And that's because there's no dedicated rename command in Linux. So the move command is basically used for that purpose. And commands that have dual use case like that, I usually call them Swiss Army knife because they serve multiple purposes. All right, moving on. So I think we can quickly talk about um, we sorry, editing files with text editors. I think it's important we cover that briefly. Moving files, copying files is good enough. We need to know how to edit them. There are multiple forms of text editors, for in Linux, uh, Ubuntu. Yeah, I think most of them actually have the same, whatever distribution you're using. Um, there's a bunch of text editors that we have in our GUI, uh, you know, as some of them can be complicated, but trust me, command line text editors are more complicated than the GUI editors. And in Linux, okay, there's no point talking about the GUI version of Linux anyways. The command line editors are kind of interesting in that it gives you more, let's say, benefits now. I will just cover two most popular editors that is available. I think most installation of Linux comes with the Nano text editor, whatever family of Linux that you have, and there is also the Vim editor, which is also uh, quite popular. It's a bit more advanced than Nano. In my opinion, is still much more powerful. We'll look at these two editors very, very briefly. So we'll start with the Nano editor. Is kind of basic in terms of features, but again, still has there are people that actually prefer Nano to using Vim. And the person's choice of editor can cause has cost and it's still causing some form of debates in the Linux community. So that's why I'm going to introduce us to the two popular ones, so you can now decide which of them you want to stick to. So to launch our Nano editor is as simple as just running Nano. This would if you don't provide a file name, it would simply start with an empty window, as we see here. Welcome to Nano, blah blah blah, and you can start typing almost immediately. Without and then when you want to save the file, you can simply do a control plus O. You have the options, down here, but it might not come in parent immediately. Control O is basically to save, and that's write out. Tell you file name to write. I can just name this nano txt, and then going to hit my enter. That has, you can see it wrote one line. That's basically saving. Writing to file means the same thing. It's basically writing out. And Control X, we have this also here. That's exit. That's exit there. So if you do a Control X, is how you exit out of the editor and go back to command line. Sorry, Control X. And that's so there's a trick. I hope I can still remember. I'm not using that anymore. So, let's exit because of not writing anything. Nano. I mentioned if you don't have a file name, it's just basically open up a new file. But if you add the path, the file name is open up. You can continue from wherever it is that you're working from. Okay, so okay, so I still understand this. I think this works in Vim also. So you can actually kind of disappear minimize if you say so in Windows you can minimize in your GUI, you can minimize a window. Yeah, so Nano you can minimize Nano also. You're using your control, you hold down your control and then you use a T and Z. It's it's a trick, that I used to do back in the day. I didn't even think that it will work again because I've not used this in a minute. Yeah, I think in Vim you don't even have to just Control T and Z. You hold down Control and T and Z. You can bring back the window by just typing FG, just like it says here. Just bring it back to the foreground, FG, and this will open up your so say you are editing something and then you quickly needed to get something, so you can just do Control FG and then bring back in the ability to background and foreground and application and terminal is part of process management. And I wish we could jump into process management actually. Again, this is just a tip ahead of time. If now that's because sometimes when you're editing files, again, you need to send it to the background and bring it back later. Okay, moving on. I hope you guys are still with me.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. See if we can, what else can we touch about here? So let's see if I can edit this file some more. So editing log files is probably not a good idea in practice. Let me see if I can use this example. Say, yeah, I'll need to use sudo for this. No, you probably would not have to ever do this. Log files mostly. This is over 2,000 lines to read everything. My train of thoughts have go. I've forgotten why I wanted to do this, but editing that is not always a good option. So if I open this without sudo for files that I do not have permission to, I should get this error that is unwritable. Yes. That's very, very normal because you don't have permission to actually write to this file. You actually use it sometimes as a fail-safe. Just use a text editor to open a file that you know you don't have permission to, but just to fill out some things so you don't accidentally make a change. All in all, I think the Nano editor is fairly simplistic once you know how to edit and write and then save and exit. I think you're good to go. If you want to go deeper into it, again, there's more to it than just writing out and then exiting. But most important thing is to know is how to open files, edit them, and then save them, which I think is fair enough for this. Next, Vim is my favorite editor, and this is what I use most often. In fact, kind of is a bit on the advanced side, but it's not to the point where it's frustrating. By default, I think it's installed also on most distribution of Linux. So I'm not sure. Then okay, yeah. So by default, it is installed on most Linux distribution. So what I like about this is that even though I'm inside of the text editor, you guys would need to pay attention to the bottom half of my screen. This annotate button is going to let me quit out of this first. I can't even see this thing because of this annotate screen. Zoom is messing with. Sorry, please, guys. Let me. So I can see. See what I'm typing. I don't know. Okay. So just like Nano, if you do Vim without or VI is still the same editor. Vim is just the modified version of VI. If you open this, Vim improved. Okay, it's improved, modified version of VI. So when you start up Vim now, there are 3 modes in VI, to start editing files. First and foremost, you start up, just when you start this up, it starts up in the command mode, which is one of the several different modes that the editor can be in. In command mode, you can't actually edit texts. Command mode allows us to run commands, as the name implies, which can allow you to manipulate text in some really interesting and neat ways. But if we want to edit a file, as we already did, as we did in Nano, we need to switch to the insert mode, and we can switch the insert mode by pressing the insert key. That's the I key on our keyboard. If you look at the bottom, that's the left hand side of my screen now. If I press I see here that I've switched to the insert mode. Like I said, start off with the command mode, but if you want to start editing your text, you push the I button, that's the insert key. And then once we're in the insert mode, we can start typing, as normally as we would do in in any other editor. We can move the cursor around with our arrow keys. But basically, we don't have anything in here now. There are also some other options to navigate using your keyboard, H, J, K, for those that game with their PC. You understand this. So basically, it does the same thing as your up and arrow key. And some users actually prefer to use that, but if your arrow key works. And to exit you can exit the insert mode by using your escape key. This will bring us back to the command mode. At first, the different modes of Vim can be a bit confusing. Yeah. For me, I think is more of a superpower. Yes. I like the fact that you have a mode for editing and another mode that is dedicated for manipulating, your texts. Yeah, because again, when it comes to text and manipulation, I think that's one of the strongest features of Vim. So let's just so I'm in my insert mode now. Let's just type a bunch of things. Linux is the best. Operating system. Linux is fast. I'm not looking at what I'm typing, but see, secure and in the customizable. Totally free computer running Linux. I don't know why, but something about this text feels off. Oh, Windows. See if we can just go through a way of manipulating this text. So let me come back to press my escape and back to my edit mode. I can run this command, colon, let's say Windows, Linux /D. Okay. It's an editor command. Windows, Linux. Oh, my bad. I think this is a string that I'm trying to manipulate, so I need a percent %s. Okay. All right, so basically, I don't know, this looks much better. Linux is the best operating system. Technically, Linux is a kernel, not an operating system, but I'll let that slide. Ubuntu is the distribution of Linux. All right. Well, this is what I just did now. Would I say is a more advanced example of the usage of Vim, probably outside the scope of what we should be learning. But I just needed to let you know that with Vim, you have, again, if you understand the command mode and the insert mode, you can literally do any text manipulation or whatever. Finding and replacing text is just one of the many things you can do with this. Some people even go as far as installing plugins to essentially turn Vim to an IDE. An IDE is an integrated development environment that you use in writing, codes and what have you. But I don't think I would enjoy Vim that much. All in all, it's an amazing editor. You can use it basically to do all sorts of things. Yeah. And to quit out of this, you'd again in your command mode, Q is for quit. But if you want to write to your file, say I want to save this file now, in Nano, W was for write, so I could do a W and then an exclamation mark. This would write to the file. Oh, no file name. So this right, sorry. Hold on. Right. Let's give it a file name. Txt. So I have 3 lines written, and if I'm going to quit, I can just do a colon and a Q. I hope that makes sense. That can actually be confusing at first in quitting out of this. There are actually so many commands available that it's literally impossible to talk about all of them in this session. But there are a bunch of things that you can actually do. I won't bother us with, because we can spend a whole, but know that there is you can actually set line numbers here. I find this actually, oops. I think so say I was editing a file now and I don't know exactly what I've done. I can just quit out of this and then come back here and my file is back. All right, so I can set number. This is a command also. A bunch of commands, like I said, bunch of commands. And we can also set no number off and on your command. So again, a bunch of things available to you for Vim. Are there questions, guys?
No questions from my end.
No question. No questions on it too.
Okay. I'm not moving too fast, Neil. That's good. Okay. Moving on. I think we can briefly touch on installation, package management. So this
Sorry,
is
Warrior. Hold on. Yeah,
okay.
sorry, Warrior. Sorry to take you back. So I tried using the Vim. So I
Yes.
clicked on the Vim and on my screen, it showed me the Vim improved blah 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 this version I'm fixing.
You didn't
So
add
I have
a name of, you just opened Vim.
yeah, I opened it. So I just opened it. It's showing me some numbers below it on the right hand side, showing 0, 0, then -1. What does that mean?
So you said you just opened Vim.
I used the Vim like yeah. So it gave me the introduction and the version I have. Then beneath it, you have the 0, 0, -1, then all. What does the 0, 0, -1? What does it mean? I just
Where is that?
asked them. Okay. I don't know if I can share my screen so you see.
Okay.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, you said all the host can share screen.
just give me a minute. Let me let you, yes.
Okay. So just
I can't see your screen yet.
okay, it's coming up. So this is it.
Give me a minute.
Can you see my screen now?
This is not coming up here. Yeah.
It's coming.
Okay. Okay, I
I
see.
can see it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I see it now.
So yeah, so I'm talking about this thing here.
Okay. You'd have said at the bottom right hand of the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I think is part of the status line. Like so 0,01 means that 0 lines were affected. Is a fresh instance of this text file. Means there's no line, nothing has been written to the file. Yeah. No, I think that's what that means. By the time you start editing or putting things into it, I think that would change. Mm, yes. The
Okay.
all I'm not really sure, but yes, I'm not really sure what that means. But again, it has to do with the buffer, anyways. Um, is in the command. If you move away from the command mode, if you press an I now, all of those should change. And when you start typing things.
Okay.
So you see things have changed now. Where by the time you start typing, the all, I think again, that's basically means that everything you're writing is going to apply to. I'm not sure that would change.
Okay.
Mm, yes.
Thank you. So to exit is to control O.
You go back to the command line. Use your escape to switch between the different modes. So you see that insert has gone. So you now do colon, and then if you just want to quit out of it, you use a Q. If you want to save in Linux, they say use write. So you write, use W to write. And you can write and quit at the same time. You can do a WQ and an exclamation mark. Did you get that?
You mean because I'm not seeing what I'm doing here. I'm
Oh,
trying to exit the screen.
so
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 I wrote these
uh,
jargons here.
so you want to exit. Hit your escape
Yeah,
button.
I'm hitting it. It's not.
Okay. Yes, you won't see anything, obviously. Then do a colon. That's shift and your colon key. Yes, so you see your colon. So from here, you can now start typing commands. Again, W is to save or write. Q is to exit or quit. Yeah,
So once I click on
it to exit. Again, because you've written something to it and then you don't want to save, you have to tell it to forcefully quit. So use Q and an exclamation mark. I think it's always better to use the exclamation mark. Yeah, telling it, okay, I know I've written things, but I don't want to save. Just quit out of it. So go back to your escape, your hit your command.
that's
So when you see a bunch of things in there, it means you've probably hit a key on your keyboard that does not the kernel does not understand. So just press your escape again. Once you hit your escape, then do a shift and then colon. You have to throw away your mouse when you're doing all of these things. Don't try to copy or do anything. So
No, I'm not
hit
using my mouse. So I use the
uh,
shift and the colon, right?
yes. So you can do a Q and then an exclamation mark. That will forcefully quit.
Am I putting the key on this? Are they going hand in hand? Or
Yes, they are together. Q and exclamation mark.
it's
No,
not?
is one you're pressing. It's
So
shift.
this is Q.
Yeah.
Shift control Q, right?
No,
Shift control.
Q, yes, shift and you have to do the Q first. The exclamation mark is just telling the kernel to forcefully quit. Quit is actually the command that you need. Yeah, shift and colon. Get your colon there.
Not.
Then Q and an exclamation mark. It's Q. Yeah, I know
Okay.
Vim VI can be there's a dot there, so you have to yeah. Yeah, colon Q exclamation mark.
Wait. Are there three? Is it colon Q exclamation mark?
And now so colon is like telling the command mode I want to pass a command to you. That's what that
I
colon
don't know
actually
why.
does.
I really don't know what's happening. I don't know why it's not existing.
Yeah, and that's because you've not passed in the command to exit. So when you type in Q and colon, press enter. Are you with me?
Yes. So this
Okay.
is
So you've hit escape now. Yeah, do a shift and the colon thing, the semicolon key, and have your colon there. So yeah, don't
so
wait, just do that first. Take away the other two, the dot and the just use your back. Don't I told you, stop highlighting things. You can't highlight. It's just your keyboard you're using now. Your keyboard,
okay.
just use your backspace. Take away the dot and the exclamation mark. In the dot, in place of the dot, you need a Q there. Take away, don't use your mouse. I can see you trying to use your mouse. Leave the mouse alone.
Okay. So
So
this is it.
use your delete, take away the exclamation mark. So now
Okay.
do Q on your keyboard. Q.
Q.
Yes, for
Okay.
Kui. And then exclamation mark. That's shift and one. And enter.
Okay. I guess. Sorry.
That's how you quit out of it. If you want to save that file, you use a WQ and the exclamation mark.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I know the rest of us, we are not trying it out, so it looks like it's easy. By the time you try it out, please don't come to my DM or I'll not respond. I will respond actually, don't mind me.
I've
Well, I hope
actually
you
tried
okay.
watching the videos, so I've done the hands-on for the
Oh, okay, for Nano and Vim. Okay. Awesome. So again, this is the second time Ogechi saying she has seen those videos, and then all of this is just like me repeating the same thing. So if you watch those videos, trust me, all of this is, and then practice, not just watch it, practice it. It would make sense. All right. Can I have my screen back, please, Sylvia?
While am I doing that? I have a question before we move in or
Yes,
proceed with
please.
the
Please go ahead.
you said this is the last weekend for Linux. What's the
Yes.
next
We are moving,
AWS?
yes, to cloud computing. Cloud computing. So cloud computing with AWS, anyways. But
Okay, are we going to get any pre-recorded videos for?
No. So that is we are going full into the boot camp. Everything we're doing is going to be live.
Okay. All right.
And it's
Thank
going
you.
to be project based. So please, you don't want to miss those sessions because when you miss it, by the time you come back, the videos are going to be available. But it's always good when you ask, questions immediately, because we'll be learning cloud computing in a month. I always say is impossible. Yeah, so we'll be moving fast and covering a lot, and it's going to be project based. We'll be using a bunch of services because there are over 300, 200 services in AWS, and we want to cover as much as possible in very limited time. So it's not like we're going to pick a service and then try to understand fully, that service, which is almost going to be impossible because you have
Impossible.
a lot of engineers working on just a service. So we'll use it as part of a project, which I think would help you understand what that particular service is doing, in its own. Not like, for a service, say your EC2 now, there's a bunch of configuration in terms of, say, while you're trying to provision it. But if you use it, okay, say you're trying to deploy an application, you understand, okay, yeah, this is what the service is used for, and these are the options that are available, to me. So we'll try we may cover 3-4 services in one day. So if you have any, question, and then, as to that, if we've moved on for that, I'll try to, take us back, but we want to cover much ground as much as possible. Yeah, so it'll be fun though. Would not move too fast also, or understanding is very, very, important.
Okay. I just asked because I'm already learning cloud partition. I just want to make sure I finish it before we start
Okay.
the AWS so that it will be
Awesome.
understand.
I like. So you have plenty of questions for me. Great.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Welcome. Are there any other questions before we move on? Okay. So we'll just briefly talk about managing software packages. Linux in itself has a huge range of software available. So I'm going to be using software packages interchangeably. So packages are like it's the official name, for calling software in Linux. So there are packages for literally everything, from server administration to games. In fact, there are over 60,000 packages in the Ubuntu repository. And again, this cuts across the other distribution also. So it means there's a lot of software, packages available. We'll take a look briefly on how to manage them, install, remove, update, yeah, briefly. So nowadays, I think app stores are the rage on most platforms. Even Windows now, they have their own, you know, application store. Um, Typically, you have one central location from which you retrieve applications, allowing you to install them on your devices. For um, mobile phone users, you have the Play Store or the iOS store. Yeah, you know, I think this concept was actually copied from, phones and tablets, utilizing utilizing a central software repository, in which software is curated and made available. Um, Again, the Android platform has the Google Play, Apple has its App Store, and so on. And for us that have been using Linux for a while, this concept has actually, it's not new to us. Concept of software repositories it's kind of similar to that of, your app stores, and it has been around the Linux, community since long before even cell phones even had color screens. I stand to be corrected though. I think since the 90s or so, started out, I think the Debian family actually adopted this first, and then Red Hat also adopted it. uh, Software repositories. When you hear repositories, basically is talking about a remote location, or remote directory, if you have it, where there's housing a bunch of files now that you can go and then pick from. Yeah, so software repositories, there is a form, they are made available, especially in Linux, in forms of um, mirrors. Um, okay, mirrors are basically um, um, again repositories in different geographic areas. Um, when you install or provision a Linux machine now, um, that your machine now would subscribe to a mirror that is closest to where that machine is sitting. For us that we're using cloud providers now, whatever region now that you spin up your instance in, uh, that particular instance would, again, all of these are pre-installation things that has been abstracted away from us. AWS, where handles all of these things. Yeah, so you just subscribe to a mirror that's closed. So these mirrors, these mirrors are populated with different software packages, and they are usually, yeah, I say usually, contain the same, softwares across the different mirrors. But there are some exceptions when it comes to this, depending on what you're trying to, um, install. Mm. So many packages depend on other packages, um, and we'll see this very, very soon. So many uh, there are tools that kind of already exist. When it comes to dependencies, we'll talk about dependencies uh, in terms of um, package management, and then dependency resolution. Uh, this actually is handled by the kernel. That's one of the uh, major tasks of the kernel: package management and dependency um, resolution. Uh, yeah, yeah. So I won't bore us with too much about package maintainers and and what have you. We'll just jump straight into hmm, sorry. Okay, before we get into the ins and outs of managing packages, there are actually two completely different types um, of packages available to us, well, in Ubuntu. I'll tell you the subtle difference when you're using, if you're using, say, Amazon Linux now, the Red Hat version of family, yeah. Um, So traditionally, each distribution has its own package formats, and also the package manager, the utility that manages this package. Ubuntu utilizes the Debian packages, um, which so you see in our Windows machine when you download an installation, an application now, usually you see a .exe. In Ubuntu, we usually see names ending with a .db. This is for the Debian distribution. That's again because that's the package formats which Ubuntu inherits from the Debian family. Again, because it has Debian as its foundation, and then um, Ubuntu utilizes the apt command to manage packages. In fact, there are two commands that we actually use in managing packages. apt is the most popular one. We also have the dpk, I think it's dpkg now. We use these two commands to manage packages. But I said, again, apt is like the choice package manager. On other distribution, say on the Red Hat RPM packages now, they use on the Red Hat family, they use RPM packages for the distribution. So usually when I do this, I usually spin up the other onto the Linux machine to be able to demonstrate this. So let me quickly start this other instance. So I didn't delete this. Start this. Because Red Hat uses the RPM packages for their distribution, and two of them actually. Um, uh, and so I think I still have this up somewhere. Some is everywhere with my screen. Oh, okay, this is again. We would be focusing on Ubuntu. We just wanted to again point out this so we know we've not touched this since. For Red Hat actually uses yum or the DNF command to manage packages. That's the subtle difference between the different family in terms of package management. PAG. If you can tell the difference between these two, again, you will be able to manage whatever distribution of Linux that you're running. So when you're on Ubuntu and then you need to install packages, apt comes to mind, apt package manager, or they use the dpkg. And if you are on some Red Hat distribution, yum or dnf is the command that will come to mind. And that's the only difference. Most of the packages you see, they have the same, okay, maybe some of them have different names, but mostly uh, they have the same principle anyways. There are other distribution and package formats as well, but I think we'll just stick to these two for now. So I'll start with the Debian. So again, anything we cover here actually cuts across this instance also. So like I said, the Debian packages have a file name that ends in .deb. In, earlier, I typed in a command. So installation of packages is an administrative task. So you always want to use sudo. So one of the first things you want to do, and then you'll be doing regularly is to update, your installations. You will patch. We call it patching your system. That's basically updating packages, security updates, and what have you. And we have commands that do that. Sudo apt update. Use this to pull in the updated versions of. So we have packages already installed, tons of packages installed on your machine already, and then you always want to keep these packages up to date, so that again, yeah, for security purposes, yeah, there are vulnerabilities that may have been exploited, that may be exploited if you don't have your machine up to date with the most recent versions of whatever package that you have installed already, or the packages that come installed with it. So you use sudo apt updates to pull in the latest versions of those packages. And what's the essence of pulling in a version of a package if you don't, upgrade, to those versions? So you can chain multiple commands together using the double ampersand. What it's saying is run this command and then run this command. So you can run multiple commands at the same time. It's different from using the pipe. Pipe is taking the output of a command and passing it as an input to another command. But the double ampersand is running multiple commands. So I could have just run sudo apt update and then maybe run another command after that is done. But I want them to run, say simultaneously now, or once one ends and then the other can continue. So I can again do a sudo apt upgrade. This is basically saying go ahead and I'm adding this flag y. If I don't add the flag y, it's by the time it gets to the point where it needs to actually do the installation, it's going to prompt you to say, okay, are you sure you want me to continue to update or upgrade these packages? So that the kernel does not, the shell script does not stop. Yeah, so I need to quickly go get a bottle of water while this is running. I can use my switch Y to do that. So this command is one of the things that you will be, you probably want to automate to run, say, add as a cron job to run maybe every day or every, I don't know, depending on the use case, what your server actually does. So this will go fetch all of the latest versions of applications, packages that we have. If you see, there are quite a lot of things that's been upgraded, Python, different dependencies of those packages. Uh, this usually takes a minute. So we'll just install one or two packages and then we'll move on from there. All right, so this is done. So installing, so like I said, we'll just focus on using the apt package manager. Apt is, I think, advanced package. So it's again, use it to install, remove packages. So sudo apt. Earlier we ran update and upgrade. That's again is a suite of there a suite of tools you would have it. Update and upgrade, those are some of the tools that helps to manage. And then install is also one of those. Say want to install a particular package now, say a web server for an instance now. So Apache is a web server, Nginx is a web server. I'm using Apache for this. So in Ubuntu, it's called Apache 2. So I can do sudo apt install Apache 2. And again, I'm going to add my flag by. I don't have to add it. If I don't add this, it would write and tell me The following packages were also installed. So it's already, so Apache actually comes installed on Ubuntu. Interesting. So, sudo systemctl. How did we install this? I remember installing it. So we have the web server running already. Okay. We can actually install multiple packages also. It doesn't have to be just one. So say I want to install a number of packages, I could just have them listed here. This would install all of them. Yeah, well, Nginx and Apache, they kind of do the same thing. I'm just going to switch to this for a minute. So I want to install the same web server here. Instead of apt, I'm just going to do yum. And this is another subtle difference here. In Linux, it's not called Apache. In the Red Hat family, it's called HTTPD. It's managed by the same organization, but they just decided they want to have that difference in the name of the package, depending on the distribution. Yeah, it's the same thing. The configuration, everything is the same. Yeah. TPD. What's wrong? Oh, I did not add install. So yum is a package manager. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to install HTTPD. So this is going to tell you. I mentioned earlier that your package managers, one of the things they help you do is to resolve dependency issues. So if there's a software now that you're about to install, yeah, your package manager would, while it's trying to install that package, it's going to say there are other softwares now that you actually need for this package to actually work. So it will go and get all of those other dependencies also. That's basically what this is telling you. That I'm going to, aside what you want me to install, I'm going to also, it comes with, a bunch of other folks also. So I go ahead. So here, this is where my switch Y comes in handy. I don't have to wait for it to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So by default, again, Apache or HTTPD now does not start, even after installing, does not start automatically on the Linux. So you have to go with sudo systemctl start HTTPD. And then I can check the status. See now that it is running. All right, it's listening on port 80. We can't test this to know if they are running or not because, again, we need to talk about ports and all of those things that I won't want us to get into right now. So that's like in terms of installing. To remove is almost the same thing also. So in my Ubuntu now, say I want to remove Apache. So I just do a sudo apt remove is the command to do that. And Apache 2. And again, this would ask, if you don't add your switch Y, to ask you, I'm going to remove a bunch of things, blah, blah, blah. And it's done, remove it. That's pretty straightforward. You can also remove multiple packages as well also. So remove would only delete or delete that application. The install of the configuration file would still remain. So think a better, say you want to remove a package completely from your system and then also all of the configuration files. Purge is so you add the purge flag to your remove command. Purge, this would also wipe out all of the configuration file, which is always a good option because unnecessary configuration files on your system is not always the best. So I could do this. This would now remove all of the configuration file of Apache from my file. And then I can go ahead and still install. Nginx is also a config, is also is a web server also. You can't have two web servers sitting on a machine. There's going to be a clash. Here, so we have Apache running. If I try to install, keep forgetting, install Nginx. So if I try to do sudo systemctl Nginx, is inactive, is dead. So let me see if I can start it. If I try to start it, I expect that it's going to fail. Yes, so this is expected. That's because you have so you can't have, you can have actually two packages that do the same thing running on your machine. So Nginx and Apache, they are both web servers and they listen on the same ports. And so there's a conflict. The kernel is smart enough to know that you already have an application that is already listening on a port, and then you're trying to start another application that wants to listen on that same port. So that's a conflict here. So it's going to fail. So all of these kind of management things, the package manager actually, or the kernel kind of does all of those on our behalf. You can also search for package. Say you do not know the naming convention used for packages in Linux they're not always obvious. So Apache, when you are trying to describe what we just installed now, Apache, it's just Apache, but if you're trying to install it, it's called Apache 2. Why don't you just call it Apache? And like we've seen, package names are sometimes different from one distribution to another, even for the same piece of software. You can actually, the different package managers, it's one of the things they also do is give you the ability to search for, different packages. So I could do apt search. Want to know what version of PHP is available. Again, this is just to give you an insight on what is available to you on Apache. These are the different dependencies, the PHP dependencies that Apache will pull in for you. Again, there are different packages on their own. And if you take a look properly, from what we searched, I think, see, is this one, PHP Apache, PHP Apache. Then you can just search different. If you don't know, just punch in a bunch of names in there. and this would bring out the actual name for you, and then you can actually use it to install them, and then it gives you the version of it, what exactly they do, and whatnot. Uh, any other thing that we want to touch on in this? I hope this package management installing is pretty straightforward. So whatever it is that you want to install, uh, just again know the difference between using apps and then using um, the Yum package manager. Are there any questions? Moving on. Oh, did not take break today.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. I propose that we bring the class to an end here, and then tomorrow would round off any other necessary things.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good rest of the night. See y'all tomorrow.